I never imagined that the mysteries of the Bermuda Triangle would unravel through giant squids. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. My heart raced as I stood on the boat's edge, waves crashing around me, salty air biting at my face. I was on a quest not just for treasure, but for answers. Mysterious disappearances, ghost ships, whispers of sirens. The legends twisted in my mind. The thrill of it overwhelmed me, yet there was a creeping fear that tangled with excitement. The ocean stretched before me, an endless blue, hiding secrets deep beneath its surface. The thought of giant squids lurking, their tentacles waiting to snatch away the unwary, sent shivers down my spine. I remember hearing tales from my father, a sailor who spoke of the triangle with a reverence that bordered on fear. Every word dripped with enchantment, his stories of storms that appeared like ghosts, ships swallowed whole by angry waters, and shadows that moved beneath the waves. I think of him now, the urgency in his voice when he warned me never to venture there alone. As I tightened my grip on the boat rail, a deep fog rolled in, wrapping around us like a thick blanket. I could barely see my crew, each of them as eager and anxious as I. We were explorers on the edge of the unknown, adrenaline coursing through us. We had read the reports, fishing boats disappearing, planes vanishing, but no one had truly uncovered the truth behind it all. What lay hidden below? Were there ancient creatures still lurking? Time capsules of a lost world? Suddenly, the water erupted. My breath caught. A colossal form shot upward. A gleaming eye half opened, reflective and ominous. It was a giant squid, thrashing and twisting, its skin glimmering like jewels in the fading light. Heartbeats echoed in my ears. I felt the gasps of my crew, their fear palpable. We were no longer explorers who were prey. Tentacles reached towards us, each movement slow, deliberate, as if the creature was sparking an ancient primal dance. Then, just as suddenly, the squid sank back into the depths. Silence wrapped around us, the kind of silence that screams. Questions raced through my mind. What did it want? Why now? I could almost taste the tension, thick and electric. And deep in my gut, an unsettling thought gnawed at me. If this was just the beginning? Hey! Before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The lingering echoes of the giant squid disturbed the thick silence. My heart raced not just from fear but from a gnawing sense of destiny, as if the creature had been waiting for me, for us, for decades. I glanced at my crew, their faces pale and stricken with shock, mirroring my own confusion and dread. We were explorers, yes, but that had morphed into something far more terrifying in the blink of an eye. Do we turn back? Amelia, our navigator, broke the spell of shock. Her voice shook, revealing the nerves beneath her bravado. I could tell she was as torn as I was. The promise of discovery lay ahead, but the abyss called out with monstrous threats. No, my voice felt stronger than I expected. We can't. We need to understand why it appeared, what it means for us. But even as I spoke those words, doubt gnawed at me. My father's warnings echoed in my mind. The triangle was a place of darkness and despair, a realm where dreams sank like ships, never to be seen again. I tried to push these thoughts aside as we gradually resumed our course, the tremors of our encounter still vibrating in the air. The fog thickened, and the atmosphere shifted. The ocean was a churning mass, and whispers seemed to dance on the breeze. The shadows of our past, of our fears, loomed so close that I almost expected them to reach out and pull me under. I had never truly grasped the way the waters could take on a life of their own, transforming into a suffocating entity. Hours passed, and just when despair threatened to take hold, a moment of unexpected kindness emerged. Marco, the youngest crew member, approached me cautiously. I remember a story my grandfather told me, he said, his voice barely above a whisper, about a ship that once vanished in these waters, but its crew found shelter with a friendly sea spirit. I met his hopeful gaze, a flicker of light piercing through the murky fog. A spirit? I asked, intrigued yet skeptical. He said they learned to communicate with it. They shared their fears and did not ask for riches or glory, just a chance to return home. I held onto his words with desperate hope, envisioning the possibility of finding safe passage through this haunted expanse. My crew, now gathered around, shared stories of their own families and ancient legends, weaving a tapestry of belief that some entity in these waters could guide us if we only asked. For the briefest moment, I felt my earlier fear receding, replaced by a warmth that buoyed my heart. But before I could fully embrace this newfound camaraderie, the boat lurched violently. The horizon darkened, and the wind howled like a banshee. My crew scrambled for stability, panic taking hold as waves crashed against us. The haunting shadows in the depths stirred awake once more. "What's happening?" Amelia shouted over the roar of the storm. I grabbed the wheel, straining against the violent pull of the sea. "Hold on," I yelled, but the boat pitched upwards, almost as if it were being lifted into the sky. And then, in the eye of the storm, everything went eerily calm. It was brief, a moment of stillness before life seemed to descend into chaos once more. An immense shadow loomed beneath us, and for a brief moment, I felt the weight of its gaze. Just beyond the edge of comprehension, a series of haunting flashes filled my vision. Images cascaded like photographs in rapid succession. A group of sailors laughing aboard a weathered ship, a mermaid's shimmering tail, a storm brewing on the horizon, and then a single facia woman, her eyes wide with anguish, reaching out as the shadow consumed her. "Captain," Marco's voice pierced through the haze, but I was frozen, entranced by the revelation. I needed to grasp what it meant, why it had come to me now. The calm shattered as the storm resumed its fury, and amidst the chaos, a voice reverberated in my mind, soft yet insistent. "Find her, before it's too late." With that, the storm intensified, and everything around me spiraled into darkness. Just as I felt the pull of the depths, a blinding flash illuminated the sea, revealing the colossal form of the giant squid once more. Its massive tentacles curled and unfurled, but this time, I noticed something frail, glimmering beacon trapped within. "Help me!" The voice echoed in my mind, this time more distinct, filled with desperation. My heart thundered as I stared into the depths, understanding dawning like the first light of day. Our quest was no longer about treasure. It was a rescue mission, and the very essence of the triangle had ensnared more than just ships. Just as the realization solidified, the power of the ocean seized me, and I felt myself slipping away into the watery abyss. The last thing I saw was the sorrowful eyes of the squid, and I knew I had to confront what lay beneath if anyone was to be saved. The pulse of the ocean enveloped me, a clammy embrace tugging at my limbs. As I sank deeper, every instinct screamed for me to fight against the dark pull of the sea. Panic surged through me, yet beneath it was a flicker of determination. I had to reach the source of the voice. My lungs burned, but I forced myself to focus. Visions of the crew flashed through my mind, of Amelia's unyielding bravery, Marco's youthful hope, and the shared laughter that seemed a world away now in this watery gloom. They needed me. I needed to understand how to navigate not just the depths of the ocean, but the depths of this chaos that threatened to drown us all. Suddenly, the tugging sensation transformed into a surge of energy, and I was thrust upward, gasping for air. I broke the surface, arms flailing, desperate for the boat. My world, once familiar, was now distorted by the storm's rage, each wave a sinister specter roaring towards me. "Captain," Amelia's voice cut through the chaos. I spotted the boat teetering violently, my crew clinging to its sides. Instinct drove me through the frigid water, and I fought against the current. I heaved myself onto the deck just as a colossal wave crashed down, nearly toppling us. My crew rallied around me, eyes wide with fear and uncertainty. "What did you see?" Amelia demanded, her grip tight on the railing. A woman. I panted, memories of shimmering scales and sorrowful eyes vying for my attention. She's down there trapped, I think. We have to help her. Panic rippled through the crew. But what if it's a trick? Marco stammered, his youthful face pale. What if it's a trap laid by the creature? Listen, I implored, gathering them close, even as the storm raged outward. We've survived so much together already. What's the worst that could happen if we try? We owe it to whoever that is. This has to mean something. For a moment, the fear in their eyes flickered to hope. But before I could fan that flame, the sky darkened with an approaching shadow. The storm still howled, but the true terror was descending from above, cloaked in wrath and chaos. The giant squid reappeared, its massive eyes locked onto mine. It was a creature of contradictions, terror and sorrow cocooned within its depths. Steady, I shouted, trying to remain the anchor they needed. We have to keep her essence safe. But an idea struck me with the weight of the ocean. What if we can communicate? What if we don't fight, but show ourselves? As I called for calm, I felt the presence of the squid shift, its massive body easing. Somehow, deep in my gut, I sensed it wasn't just a creature of chaos, but a keeper of lost hopes. It had shown me a glimpse of its burden. Perhaps it could help us carry ours. Can you hear me? I called toward the looming creature, our eyes locked in a shared moment of understanding. We're here to help. We know you've lost something. The storm paused, and the winds began to whisper. Shadows danced, and an unexpected calmness enveloped us as the sea swelled and the squid moved closer, its tentacles brushing against the hull, sending vibrations beneath our feet. Suddenly, clarity broke over the chaos. I positioned myself at the bow, my crew steadying as I reached out, my voice rising above the noise. We're asking for your guidance, your help in finding her. What can we do? In answer, the squid curled a massive tentacle toward me, inviting connection. The rhythmic pulsing ebbed in unison with my heartbeat, and as I extended my hand, a strange warmth enveloped me, radiating a message not in words, but in feelings that surged like the Tidea plea to uncover the past, to face the agony of its memory. Show us, I whispered, allowing the ocean's embrace to fill me with purpose. Guide us to her. The air hummed as the currents swelled dangerously around us. As we prepared to plunge beneath the waves once more, I hesitated. What if she's not the only one? I realized, the thought slicing through me like a blade. What if there are more lost souls, more than just hair in this triangle? Suddenly, the skies erupted as lightning cleaved through the dark, illuminating the pale, shivering form submerged within the tentacles of the gigantic squid. That familiar face, the woman beckoning, now more tangible than the fear that had shackled my heart. Captain, look, Amelia gasped, her voice pulling me back to reality as the tumult around us grew deafening. Get ready, I ordered, adrenaline coursing through me. We had to act now, to face whatever darkness lay ahead. With a surge of bravery, I clasped the squid's tentacle, ready to descend alongside my crew, our fears colliding with newfound courage. And just as we twisted into the depths, I felt the unmistakable pull of a larger truth, the revelation that would either condemn us or save us all. Find her, before it's too late. Echoed in my mind, the voice intertwining with my heart's frantic beat, intensifying the urgency of our quest. But as I plunged deeper, a chilling thought struck. Who else awaited rescue below? What else had the triangle claimed as its own? The darkness closed around me, and as I prepared to confront the unknown, a wave of unease washed over me. The journey was far from over, and I could feel the weight of unseen eyes studying us, biding their time as we dove deeper into the heart of the Bermuda Triangle. The depths enveloped me, an otherworldly silence punctuated by the thrum of the squid's pulse, vibrating through the vast expanse of the abyss. This alien world, submerged in shadows, felt alive. My lungs fought against the instinct to scream as a chill settled deep in my bones. Fear clawed at my heart. I was uncertain of what awaited you as swift as the currents. Images of the crew sprang forth, Amelia's unwavering resolve, Marco's innocence, the unyielding bond that had tethered us together through countless storms. A shard of light pierced through the gloom of doubt. We had each other, and that made us powerful. I have the darkness with a call, buoyed by our collective yearning. Amelia, Marco, stay close. Their forms blurred and shifted in the deep blue, illuminated now by the surrounding glow of the squid's aura. With a rush of profound determination, I felt a flicker of hope surge within me. I clung to the thought that we were not yet lost. With each pulse of the squid's tentacle, visions danced in my mind, shadows of lost souls, their cries echoing softly beneath the waves. I steadied my grip, chasing the flicker of light, willing it to guide us deeper into this haunted realm. I held tight to the hope that we would find not only the woman but perhaps answers to the darkness that thrived here. Suddenly, a sharp cry pierced the watery silence. It wasn't just the echoes of our urgency. It was a plaintive wail, raw and desperate. The sound resonated not just through the water, but through my very soul. Did you hear that? I shouted, urgency rising in my voice. Sir, she's here. We pressed forward, the depths opening around us like an invitation. The squid weaved gracefully, guiding us through a labyrinth of memories caught in the ocean's depths. I focused, heart pounding, on the specter of the woman hovering just ahead. Her long hair floated like kelp, framing her face, one lost yet shimmering with resilience. Help me, the plea echoed around us, reverberating through the water as if the ocean longed to share its burden. I could almost feel her hope mingling with our determination as we neared her grasp. But as I reached out, the vibrant glow flickered, momentarily dimming before bursting forth with blinding intensity. It momentarily disoriented me, throwing my senses into chaos. The once steady heartbeat of the squid shifted, a tremor of unease coursing through its form. Captain, we shouldn't. Marco's voice struggled against the pressing silence, clamoring for attention amid the unfolding storm of emotions. Shadows lost in time merged and swelled, rising with a darkness that twisted the currents, dark and sinister. A dread-filled calm surrounded us, wrapping us in a tight embrace that made my heart race with fear. No, we have to try, I insisted, grabbing Marco and pulling him closer, keeping my eyes on the ethereal being that flickered like a lighthouse. We can't turn away now. We can't. We need to save her. But just as the resolve showed strength, an ominous shape darted from the shadows, unfurling with a fury, pulling us into its orbit. It radiated hatred and pain, choking the air from my lungs. The very depths turned hostile, filled with the whispers of lost lives and broken dreams. The squid's illumination faltered, darkness suffocating hope. Suddenly, Amelia's voice cut through the despair, brave and unyielding. We're here together. We're not alone. A flicker sparked, igniting something fierce within me. Hold on to each other, I cried, desperation etching my words deeper than ever. A web of connection tied USA lifeline in a tempest of despair. With my heart in my throat, I reached for the ghostly figure again, steadying my trembling hand. We still want to help you, I called, my voice a beacon in the tightening darkness. Please let us. But as the murky shadows swirled, I sensed betrayal creeping through the currents. Voices rose like a storm, whispering warnings, murmurs of lost souls clashing against the will to rise again. The woman's eyes flashed with something akin to understanding, yet tinged with fear, an echo of dread that gnawed at the edges of my hope. Stop! A voice echoed not from the depths, but from the surface tension where the storm collides with the light. A figure emerged from the shadows, another soul who had seemingly been lost. Legs trembling, I squinted into the darkness, fighting the wave of panic that threatened to consume me. Their silhouette was shrouded in an aura of grief. Please, turn back, the figure rasped, haunting and old, the weight of untold stories hanging on their lips. They won't let you pass. A horrifying realization settled over me like an anchor. This was a gatekeeper of sorts, guarding not only the woman but the very essence of the past that loomed over us. My heart sank. Were we fighting against ancient wrongs? Time stood still, the weight of choices pressing heavily upon my soul, and just as dread threatened to swallow us whole, I turned back to find the squid watching intently, a conduit for hope lost amid the depths. It curled its tentacle around me, confused but unwavering, prompting me to remember the essence of resilience. Then, it dawned on me: connections we forged could illuminate even the darkest corners of despair. But with that thought came a devastating realization. The real question was not only how many souls awaited rescue, but which of us could pay the price to forge a path through the shadows as the currents surged chaotically around us. I heard the whispers rise louder, the pained echoes of those trapped beneath the weight of despair. I inhaled sharply, a plea forming within the depths of my heart. If we are to help her, we may have to face a darkness we never anticipated. In that moment, a wave of tumult crashed over us, knocking me backward while the air turned electric with revelation. The time for choices was at hand, and the price of salvation would either bind us together or tear us apart forever. What are you willing to sacrifice? The figure from the depths rasped, and everything froze as the truth hung in the water like a taut thread, waiting for the choices yet to unfold. The storm wouldn't relent. The depths were alive, and somewhere beneath the fury, the true dangers lingered awaiting our next move. The pressure in the water intensified around me, squeezing the hope from my chest almost as tightly as the shadows closed in. The air pulsed with an unknown energy, vibrating through my veins as I remained locked in this deadly embrace of uncertainty. Each whisper from the depths called to me, tales of sacrifice interwoven with the promise of salvation. Pulling me deeper into a fray I had not anticipated. Step back, Amelia urged, her voice trembling, yet laced with an unwavering spirit. I could see the tension in her body, each graceful movement betraying the dread that threatened to engulf her. Marco mirrored her fear, his young face twisted with confusion and a longing for safety. This was not the expedition we had embarked upon. We had traipsed through the storm together, trusting we were guiding one another home. You heard what they said, Marco timidly spoke, his gaze darting to the depths as though awaiting a reckoning. What if we aren't strong enough to face whatever it is down there? My resolve faltered. I had believed that the bond we shared and the power of our unity could usher us through any darkness. But as I met their eyes, glimmers of shared vulnerability anchored us in a sobering reality. But we can't abandon her, I murmured, the warmth of their camaraderie circling my heart. It's not what we do, it's who we are. The ghostly figure loomed closer, her translucent form pulsating in rhythm with the squid's glow. You will face anguish if you continue. The past does not easily release its hold, she warned, her voice a haunting melody that resonated with grief. What will you sacrifice to break the cycle? An image flashed before me, a face I had come to know intimately, yet now seemed 1,000 miles away. Memories of my mother stirred within, her own haunting shadows woven with choices she had made long before I existed. I recalled her words whispered in darkness, the weight of decisions that shaped my every breath. Could I journey into the depths without considering the price? As the currents shifted sharply around us, I braced myself against the powerful swell, drawing strength from the two souls beside me. I won't let fear guide our choices. Let me see her, I pressed, my voice echoing fiercely through the swirling chaos. If facing this darkness is what it takes, then I will. A hum surrounded us, a melody steeped in centuries of despair intermingled with flickers of hope. The shadows thinned slightly, vacating space amidst the chaos, and in that moment, the connection between us glimmered anew. It felt as though the very essence of our spirits intertwined, banded together, fortified by every moment we had shared, every hardship we had faced. Together, Amelia whispered with palpable strength, whatever it is, we face it together. As we stepped forward, the darkness writhed like an angered beast, forcing my heart to quicken with terror. The squid pulsed frantically, its glimmer fighting against the oppressive weight of the shadows, casting twisted shapes that danced along the depths. The atmosphere buzzed with energy, and I realized that something ancient and powerful lingered just ahead, demanding to be engaged. Confront what ails you, the ghostly figure intoned, her wraith-like form flickering like a flame before our eyes. You seek liberation, but each choice bears its consequence. I nodded, the knot tightening within me, as if grappling with my own demons, those unrecognizable regrets whispering from the recesses of my heart. I had aimed to unearth the past not just for the woman lost in the depths, but for those I loved too. It was not just the salvation of one soul that rested in our hands. It was an opportunity to reconcile a history that had long haunted my own. "Lead us," I said, summoning courage from the tapestry of shared memories weaved with love and bravery. "We're ready to face whatever stands in our way." And as we plunged deeper into the abyss, the ocean around us transformed into a swirling canvas of grief and hope, every ripple a testament to the lives woven into the currents. The haunting whispers of eager souls echoed louder. They were standing with us, urging us onward. We drew closer to the center of it all, where the light flickered deviously, and a chilling realization stabbed through my chest. The woman had been but a reflection of all the lost hopes we still held dear, and the shadows ahead carried not just the weight of the past but also the potential for unthinkable sacrifice, a chance to rewrite our own fates. Then, suddenly, everything shifted. The air grew still, the ominous swirl of darkness coiling tightly through the water, and I found myself grappling with an unsettling truth. What if we're not just fighting to save her, but to reclaim something from each of our pasts? I questioned as the depths pulsated with energy, each heartbeat echoing my uncertainty. With the squid as our reluctant ally and the spirit of the woman beckoning us forward, I realized our very souls hung precariously on the edge of choice. As the shadows thickened around us, a deafening roar erupted from within, the ocean itself trembling in anticipation, waiting to witness our next move. But when I turned back to ensure the others were beside me, I was met with a jarring sight: a ferocious shadow slicing through the currents, swallowing the light. Unable to comprehend the enormity of what lay before us, I braced myself, for the path to understanding was one we had yet to tread. The call of my past loomed large, a foreboding echo in the turmoil of my heart as the water churned around us, ushering us toward a destiny unknown. The question hung in the air with heavy suffocation. Were we prepared to face our truths, entwined in the labyrinth of mystery and shadow, where the sacrifice might demand more than we were willing to give? The pressure of the water pushed down harder, each breath a conscious effort to fend off the weight of despair that threatened to consume me whole. The ghostly form flickered as the shadow surged closer, darkness wrapping around my heart like a vice. I swallowed, torn between the urgency of our mission and the fear of what lay ahead. "Stay close," I whispered, my voice strained as though I could reinforce our bond with mere words. Amelia and Marco nodded, their resolve flickering but not extinguished. Together, we edged carefully through the deepening shadows, our senses heightened, each sound magnified in the heavy silence. Flashes of bright colors erupted around us, the vibrant scales of the smaller fish darting away in panic from the impending doom. I thought of my mother again, of her laughter mingled with worry. Had she ever faced monsters brushing against the edges of her dreams? As the current swirled, one single memory bubbled to the surface: a day spent at the beach, her hand tight around mine as the waves crashed about us. "Don't ever forget to look for the beauty, even in the dark," she had told me. As I swam deeper, that thought became my anchor, a reminder that even in tumult, hope could flourish. But the reality almost felt too immense, as if the shadows were not merely of the internal kind. Who are we really fighting? I muttered, my heart racing. The thoughts weighed heavily on me. Was our journey truly about saving a lost soul, or were we on a path of relentless introspection, digging deep into treacheries we had buried? Suddenly, out of the darkness, a burst of light spiraled before me. An ethereal jellyfish illuminated the way, its graceful movements contrasting starkly with the oppressive void that surrounded us. It pulsated with a gentle rhythm, like a heartbeat of the ocean itself. Intrigued, I extended my hand, brushing against its luminescent tendrils, feeling a warmth unlike anything I had anticipated. It was a small moment of kindness in the vast, treacherous waters, a reminder that beauty could exist even within despair. But then, the moment shattered as the furious shadow lunged forward, interrupting our serene connection. The energy shifted, and I felt a piercing dread slicing through my veins. The light dimmed as the darkness coalesced, revealing itself not as one singular creature but a web of intertwining forms, a manifestation of our fears and regrets. "Stand firm," I shouted, trying to project an air of confidence I was far from feeling. We can't let this consume us. Amelia grabbed my arm, squeezing tightly, her eyes glinting with both fear and determination. If we can confront it, expose its truth, maybe it doesn't have to control us, she said, her voice steadied by an unexpected determination. Marco, buoyed by our connection, added, we can't let it decide our fate. As if sensing our collective resolve, the pit of shadows lunged toward us, an overwhelming rush of energy closing in, the ghostly figure from before merging with the mass. Will you sacrifice your past to save another? It asked, a chilling echo that bounced through the depths of my consciousness. The voice was laced with desperation, as though it sought validation more than answers. The words hit me like a tidal wave, the weight of their truth crashing over me. What had I sacrificed, and would I be willing to let go of more? Memories flitted by, moments of joy tainted by guilt, shadows of people I had loved, those I had failed to protect. Would I surrender everything for someone whose face I barely recognized? Amelia's grip grew tighter still, instilling a newfound resolve within me. Whatever it takes, we must reclaim our narratives, our truths, she declared, her voice shaking but fierce. I could practically feel the collective heartbeat of our intentions as we drew closer, arms linked, ready to confront whatever the darkness demanded. And just as the darkness surged, a faint fissure of light arose, illuminating the waves before USA promise of hope piercing through the suffocating darkness. It beckoned me forward, casting memories of my mother dancing. Joyfully, her arms open wide as if celebrating the act of living through turbulent waters. In that defining moment, I felt the pang of realization that our journey was not just a confrontation but an exploration of agency, a reclamation of our right to define ourselves against the shadows. Could we face this together? Were we prepared for the depths we must plunge to reclaim both our pasts and the lost souls tangled therein? The surge of shadows coiled tighter, almost daring us, and as the light split further, I understood that the battle waged within was as essential as the one without. Did we possess the courage to sacrifice parts of ourselves and the ghosts that clung so desperately? And in that breathless instant, amid the surge of determination, the shadows lunged once more, a maelstrom of whispers merging into one deafening demand. What will you choose? As the very fabric of our connection quivered in the wake of that question, it struck me that true sacrifice had its pricey, a price we would have to confront not only for her but for each of us. The next decision cut deeper than I'd imagined, tethering our fates amid the abyss, and the consequences began to loom larger than the choices themselves. The shadows pressed in, a heavy darkness swirling around us like a tempest, demanding our choices and testing our resolve. The depths were alive with an eerie energy, a chorus of fears and regrets that threatened to drown out the fragile flickers of hope we clung to. I could feel the weight of their suffocating presence surging around me, and with every heartbeat, the question loomed over us like a monstrous wave ready to crash. What will you choose? The echoing voice still reverberated within me, stinging with the clarity of its intent, as if it were asking not just for our decisions but challenging the very essence of who we were meant to be. My mind spun, tangled in the memories that danced just out of reach like sunken treasure veiled beneath murky waters. Together, Marco murmured, squeezing my shoulder with a reassurance that ignited the dim spark inside me. I turned to him, and in the depths of his ocean-colored eyes, I saw reflected not just the fear but a profound understanding and unwavering belief that despite the ever-looming darkness, we could still carve our path forward. Then, like a feather falling gracefully through a tumultuous storm, a single thought resonated in my mind. We weren't fighting just to save another. We fought to reclaim ourselves. Reaching for Amelia's hand, an unexpected warmth coursed through me, infusing my very core with a courage I didn't know I possessed. But the darkness wasn't finished with us. It surged again, a feral blast of cold that wrapped around my throat, constricting and tightening as though the abyss itself sought to consume our will. You think kindness has power in these depths? It mocked, and I discerned glimpses of familiar faces within the swirling shadows, the people I'd hurt, the memories that haunted my quiet moments. Each swirling visage weighed heavily on my heart. Suddenly, the melancholy tide shifted. The ethereal jellyfish from earlier reappeared, its glow pulsing in staccato bursts that illuminated the distorted faces swirling in the shadows. It hovered before us like a guardian spirit, and its light seemed to reach into the darkness, unraveling strands of agony and despair. Hope wavered but didn't flicker out. "I will not abandon this light," I declared, my voice rising above the tumult. "We seek even the smallest kindness, and it will lead us home." In that moment, I soared above our fears, my spirit buoyed by the presence of my friends. Marshall's hesitation melted away as he echoed my sentiment. Yes, we must anchor ourselves to that light. His resolve fused into our collective strength, urging us to resist the spiral of despair. But what if that light isn't enough? What if we can't protect her? Amelia broke in, her voice cracking like thin ice, revealing the raw vulnerability she desperately attempted to conceal. The depths of her doubts swirled like currents around us, tugging at the edges of our unity. I couldn't answer her. The weight of her question hung heavily in the air. We were faced not only with the responsibility of saving another life but reconciling the sins of our past, drawing new lines in the sand while drowning in regret. The shadows snapped closer, crashing around us like waves crashing upon jagged rocks, either seducing us to surrender or forcing our will to break. Fear clawed at my insides, promising us nothing but despair if we failed. I wanted to cry out, to verbalize the fears that gnawed at my heart. Yet I found freedom in the moment, the solidarity shared among us two against the abyss. Moments passed ethereally as we united, a silken thread weaving our fates together. Each memory as real as the water around us, a series of faces, each accompanying a choice I had made. "I choose kindness," I whispered, a quiet promise that rippled through the very fabric of our connection, resonating through the tides of darkness that threatened to consume us. In response, the shadows recoiled, a shattering ripple emitting from the heart of the darkness itself. I gasped, feeling the shift profound and electric. But as they measured their retreat, I glimpsed something. Impossible swirling behind the man, unmistakable object surfacing in the distant depths. A giant squid, its vast form pulsating like living ink, tendrils flaring as if heralding an ancient wisdom that wafted through the water. And there it was, the inexplicable truth that hid beneath our struggle. The legends of the Bermuda Triangle whispered through the currents, twisting toward revelation. It wasn't just our choices that summoned the darkness, but our understanding of it, as if the spirit of the ancient deep awakened to challenge our fragility. "Look," Amelia gasped, pointing toward it, urgency slicing through her voice. There was a raw thrill in her expression as even the shadows faltered. My heart raced, caught between the beauty of discovery and the genuine horror of what lay ahead. But before I could respond, a powerful wave surged upward, and a blinding light erupted from the squid. It swallowed our surroundings whole, illuminating everything, the faces of our past, the shadows that haunted us, and the soul we were meant to save. An ethereal bond of energy radiated toward me, a sudden connection I hadn't anticipated. In that moment of stark clarity, I realized our journey was far from over. The shadows had merely become more ominous, the choice we made fanning a new flame of anguish and uncertainty. As the light enveloped us, it pulled us toward the deep, whispering promises of revelation, certainty, and risk. I felt the current shift again, pulling us deeper into the unknown, and the voice once more reverberated through the very marrow of my being. "What will you choose now?" With an uncertain heart, I braced myself for the answers that were yet to surface from the dark, knowing everything we had faced thus far was merely the beginning of a journey entwined with consequences too monumental to comprehend, holding within them the very key to unravel everything we believed. The light from the giant squid enveloped us, transforming the oppressive darkness into a kaleidoscope of brilliant colors. I felt the luminous energy surging through my veins, invigorating my very essence while simultaneously weighing down the heart, still tethered to uncertainty. The tendrils of the squid danced gracefully, illuminating shadows that now receded, revealing glimpses of what lay ahead. Yet, lurking just beyond that radiance were new worries that burgeoned in the depths of my mind. What if this light is a trap? Marco's voice pierced through the enchanting glow, tinged with skepticism. In his gaze, I saw the remnants of doubt battling against a flickering resolve. "We don't know what the depths truly want from us." His words struck a chord within me, The very light that promised hope now shimmered like a beacon leading us deeper into peril. I turned to Amelia, hoping her steadfast confidence would buffer the increasing anxiety. But her expression mirrored Marco's undercurrent of fear bubbling just beneath the surface, a reminder of how fragile our conviction remained. I took a step forward, allowing the warmth of the squid's light to wash over me. We have to trust ourselves. We've faced darkness before and we're still here. My voice steadied with each syllable, a mantra against the swirling uncertainty that threatened to drown us. But as the tendrils parted, revealing another layer of the abyss, dread settled back into the pit of my stomach. Strange structures emerged, towering like forgotten spires, covered in luminescent coral that pulsed in rhythm with the squid's heartbeat. And in the shadows, I sensed something watching us, a presence hidden within the walls of uncertainty. Suddenly, a flicker of movement caught my eye. A figure emerged, partially obscured by shimmering darkness, a woman with haunting features and eyes that glowed like the remnants of a dying star. "You seek to save her," she said, her voice a melodic whisper laced with both warmth and coldness. "But at what cost?" Amelia took a step forward, clearly unnerved. "Who are you?" Her voice quivered, but the fire beneath her fear shone through. "What do you know about her?" "I am a keeper of the depths," the woman replied, her hand sweeping gracefully, revealing further wonders hidden beyond the fabric of shadow. "The balance of fate rests upon choices yet to be made, but those choices are never free of sacrifice." A chill ran down my spine as I thought about our mission to save the soul trapped within the depths. How many times had I made choices that came with insurmountable costs? "What do you mean?" I asked, fighting to keep my voice steady. "The darkness you fear, the shadows that mock you, they are born from your past," the woman explained. "Tread carefully, for as you push forward seeking to reclaim that life, you may awaken old demons. Your kindness will be a light, but it will also evoke that which is lost." My heart raced. Each revelation threatened the fragile armor I had built around myself. "What if we choose to confront those demons?" I blurted, unsure whether I sought encouragement or a placation. "What if our kindness is enough to change the course of this sorrow?" "For every choice made, another is sacrificed," she replied cryptically, her cryptic gaze shifting to each of us in turn. "Your burdens are heavy, and the call for kindness will not stem the tide of despair without a reckoning." The shadows surged closer, wrapping around us again, this time fostering a frenzy of emotions: remorse, guilt, and a haunting sense of inevitability. The terrible weight of the woman's words settled heavily in my chest. Each of us was shackled to choices made long before this journey began, and now we were faced with the looming specter of those consequences. The keeper continued, "To save one, you may lose another. To confront the darkness, you must first confront yourselves." Her presence began to dissipate into the kaleidoscopic light, leaving only those words echoing in my mind. A challenge, a warning. Suddenly, a rumbling shake reverberated through the waters. The giant squid coiled, tense, as if sensing some ancient threat materializing from the depths below. "What is happening?" Amelia shouted, fear lacing her voice, her eyes wide. "Stand together," I commanded as the shadows surged with newfound fury, driven by the storm of unspoken truths we carried. "We can't let them overtake us. Not now." But just as our resolve seemed strongest, the most unexpected nightmare sprang for the distorted figure, creeping from the reaches of darkness. It was a version of myself, twisted and tormented, with eyes that held all my regrets. A living embodiment of every mistake I had ever made. "I will tear you apart," it screeched, an anguished scream that resonated with the deepest failure within me. I cried out, the sharpness of my denial cutting through the tumult. And yet, I couldn't deny the chilling familiarity of that shadow. It held all the pain I had buried, the lives I had touched but never truly understood. As the deep waters churned, panic threatened to engulf my heart. A tormented smile spread across the reflection of my darkness, and for a fleeting moment, I felt the slivers of my own vulnerability pour forth, revealing a truth I wasn't ready to acknowledge. A revelation crashed upon me, hard as the waves that surged within the depths. We weren't just fighting for someone else's life, you were grappling with our own. The tension in the water thickened. What if you cannot save us? My shadow taunted as it stepped closer, shrouded in agony. Behind me, Amelia gasped. The realization hitting her like a thunderclap. I fought against the swell of memories, my future unspooling before me like a fragile thread. I didn't know whether I could face this shadow, the embodiment of my past choices, and worse, if I chose to fight it, what it might demand in return. I don't know, I insisted, gripping Marco's hand, feeling the warmth of their presence. We can find a way to break the cycle. But as the wall of darkness closed in, another tremor cascaded through our collective bond, a flicker of light, but also a promise of retribution, solidifying my dread as another wave of resistance coursed through my blood. With a surge of hope and a spark of despair, I steeled myself against what lay ahead. The shadows growled from behind, ready to shatter whatever fragment of unity we had managed to muster. What will you choose now? The depths waited, taunting, poised to reveal every truth we had tucked away, and the battle for our own souls was just beginning. As the darkness swirled around me, I realized that the echo of my own pain was the very thing I had buried for so long, the guilt that came with choices I made. I felt Marco's grip tighten around my hand. His steadfast presence reminded me that we faced this together, even as shadows clawed at the edges of my mind. Tell me what you want, I shouted into the void. The distorted figure me reflection sneered at me with knowing malice, each word that came from its twisted lips cutting like shards of ice. What I want is irrelevant, the shadow hissed, its voice a haunting melody fueled by my insecurities. What you will face is far more important. Can you discern your desires from the echo of your regrets? I turned toward Marco and Amelia, searching for their resolve. If I have to face this, I admitted, we face it together. I need you both. But my voice trembled with the weight of uncertainty. Would they understand the raw depth of what this meant? Would they feel the encroaching realization that we were as much a part of each other's pain as we were of this mission? Together, Amelia echoed softly, though I could see the flicker of doubt in her eyes. But how? Her steadiness was beginning to waver under the onslaught of emotion, the gravity of what we were being asked to confront. What if it holds the truth to our salvation? Marco said suddenly, as if the very notion of confronting our shadows could unlock our potential to save the one lost soul we sought. His voice, even in its hesitance, shone with an innate steadiness that offered a glimmer of hope. That it feels bleak, I confessed, my heart heavy. But maybe if we confront the truth that lies hidden, we can break the cycle. We can find forgiveness, not just for her, but for ourselves. Before another word could escape my lips, the shadows surged forward, the figure taunting us with a malicious glee. Forgiveness, it echoed mockingly. Do you think such an elusive whim can shield you from impending choices? You cannot shield your souls from the debts owed. The incantation of its words sent shivers cascading down my spine. Behind it, fragments of our past danced like ghosts, moments of despair. Faces of those I failed to protect, echoes of laughter lost in the tumult of sorrow. I felt both the heat of shame and the chilling loneliness of trauma, trying to grip my heart with its icy fingers. Stop, I shouted again, fiercely, desperate to anchor myself in the present, where we still had a choice. The keeper's words echoed in my mind, vibrating with truth. If we fight for the soul of another, we must first reclaim our own. Suddenly, Amelia stepped forward, her voice quavering yet resolute, fueled with an energy that seemed to push away the shadows that threatened to drown us. We have to trust one another. I have the courage to face what I've Denito, name it and call it out. If I can, then so can you, Amelia, Marco began, but there was a fervent spark in Amelia's eyes, one that could not be dimmed. You taught me that light can be born from darkness, she said softly, her gaze locking onto mine, and I refuse to let these shadows claim us. We owe it to ourselves and to her. Her words ignited a small flame of hope within me. Perhaps there was a chance for redemption, not just for the soul we sought but our very beings. It became clear that the only way out of this turmoil was to face it head-on, not as isolated individuals, but as a united front bound by our struggles, yet strengthened by our shared purpose. With collected breaths, we moved toward the distorted figure, steering our focus toward it, allowing our fears to wash over us like relentless waves. We are not defined by our pasts, I shouted, feeling a surge of courage rising within. We choose to be here, together in this moment. The shadow recoiled, slackening its grasp, momentarily bewildered by our determination. Choose? It echoed, the hissing laughter fading slightly. Every choice you make births consequences you cannot escape. Perhaps, Marco said, stepping beside me, but we will not shy away from those consequences. We will own our pasts, understand them, and seek to move forward. There can be no future without the struggles of the past. Amelia shouted back, her voice unwavering. Your power over us diminishes as we claim our truth. With that declaration, a ripple of light burst forth from our combined resolve, illuminating the dark waters around us. The shadows writhed, but our bond glimmered with fierce potential, creating a halo of warmth that pushed against the encroaching void. Yet, beneath this emerging light, I sensed uneasy a pulse of dread, a dark anticipation lingering in the depths. The keeper's warning echoed in my mind, a haunting reminder that we had yet to reckon with the deeper truths that must be faced. Look, Marco's eyes widened, and I turned to face the initial hideous figure I had confronted. Yet now, it flickered, indecisive, as if wrestling against the weight of our unity. There are others beneath. The shadow of my past sneered, its voice faltering as if uncertain of its power. Can you handle what you will unearth? My heart raced at the realization that I stood not alone but within a whirlpool of fractured hopes. The depths, it seemed, were not simply filled with the regrets of my life, but held the remnants of others intertwined with my own. Suddenly, without forewarning, a shadowy tendril shot toward me from the depths, latching onto my ankle and pulling me beneath the surface. A chilling plunge into icy waters, darkness closing in. Save her! I heard Marco's desperate pleas, and Amelia's fierce cries, as their forms became distant echoes above me. But I was submerged in an abyss of uncertainty, deceived by shadows and faced once more with the hollow reflection of my mistakes. As I sank deeper, the whispers of lost souls swirled around me, begging for release, their shadows merging with my own, coalescing into a monstrous silhouette, one that held not just my failures, but the failures of everyone I had dared to love. The revelation crashed down upon me. I wasn't prepared to face. I was not merely fighting for her salvation anymore. I was fighting for the very threads that wove the essence of who I had become and the souls I had deeply intertwined with. That I, in the depths of that suffocating darkness, I understood it was never just about one soul lost in the abyss. It was about the collective bond we shared, a fight for redemption that harbored far greater stakes. And with it came the chilling truth. The price of salvation might ultimately cost everything we had left to give. Would we pay it? Or would the darkness claim us once and for all? The pressure of the water intensified around me, squeezing all hope from my lungs as I grappled with the enormity of what I faced. There were more shadows than I had ever anticipated. Shadows that echoed not just my mistakes but those of the ones I loved. Each reflected face pulsed with pain, memories mingling with guilt in a strange, twisted dance. As cold tendrils enfolded me, engulfing my essence in despair, I understood. I was drowning in choices I had avoided, mistakes I had not reconciled. Captain, Amelia's voice sliced through the darkness, a beacon that ignited a flicker of defiance. Somewhere in that vast expanse of sorrow, I felt her courage, her unyielding spirit. We're still with you. Remember, we're fighting together. Her voice pulled me back, tethering me amidst the shadows that threatened to swallow me whole. And though the figure of my past loomed larger, it faltered at her words. You think strength comes from unity? You'll be consumed by your own thorns. It hissed, but I could sense the wavering in its tone, and oh, I gasped, pushing against the dark tide. Unity is our strength. Our bonds are forged from love, from the very mistakes that haunt us. And you don't own us. Those words felt like an offering of light to the depths that swirled around me. In the eerie silence that followed, I felt the pulse of memories from Amelia and Marco, a warmth igniting within me. If we could confront this embodiment of failure, not as isolated souls but as a collective force, perhaps we could alter its power over us. I envisioned their faces again, Marco's steadfast resolve, Amelia's shimmering courage. Despite the chaos, love had drawn us here, and love would carry us through, with renewed determination. I swam closer to the figure, feeling the connection to my friend strengthen. What do you want from us? I challenged the shadow, my voice echoing through the murky depths. Do you want despair? Regrets? Can you take our pain and twist it into armor against your darkness? The figure hesitated, the pulse of its density flickering. Your charms will not undo what has been birthed. It warned, its expression twisting in disbelief. But within its eyes, I sensed uncertainty. Perhaps, I countered, swimming through the abyss of our shared traumas. But what if our pain transforms into strength because of each other? What if your power weakens when we embrace our truths? I reached for the pulsing light of the giant squid, feeling its warmth infuse my veins. This was not just my battle. We were united against this manifestation of agony and regret. I felt Amelia and Marco's presence surge beside me, their strength buoying my own. Together, they said in synchrony, hands entwined around mine, amplifying the warmth of our combined resolve. A brilliant light erupted from the squid, illuminating the depths as it coiled around us, a guardian of our intentions against the shadows that threatened to consume us. Together, I echoed, the warmth of resolve swelling. We are defined by our willingness to face the truth not just of what we want to save, but of ourselves. Suddenly, the shadow thrashed wildly. No, it roared, the darkness swirling in frenzied chaos. But we pressed forward, uniting our voices to form a harmonious chant, a symphony of forgiveness for ourselves, and for the woman lost in the depths. We choose to rise. We choose to heal. In that defining moment, the darkness began to unravel, its jagged edges softening under the glow of our light. The shadow trembled, fractured by the sounds of our collective resolve. With each chant, we chiseled the tendrils of guilt that bound us, shaping them into an ethereal weapon forged from love and honesty. The room around us flooded with brilliant luminescence, the shadows retreating, dispelled by the force of our unity. Amid the blinding light, I caught a glimpse of the woman's spirit. It flickered, drawing ever closer, her eyes shimmering with hope. Do not fear your past, she whispered, her voice reaching through the chaos. Embrace it, shape it, only then can you find freedom. And as she spoke those words, the light intensified, enveloping us with warmth, echoing the trials we had faced together. Finally, the shadows retreated completely, revealing a vast expanse of shimmering oceanic beauty. Each of us stood resolutely before the essence of our pasts, the darkness transformed through the power of collective love and acceptance. We will not lose ourselves in regret anymore, I promised aloud, locking eyes with Amelia and Marco, the core of my being grounded in our connection. We will face our tragedies not as burdens, but as lessons, and well honor them through our choices moving forward. The woman, now radiant and free, looked deep into my soul. Thank you for seeking the truth amidst darkness. It is in your hearts that I finally find solace. And as she glided into the light, I felt an overwhelming wave of peace wash over us, the remnants of our burdens dissolving into the crystalline waters. The once forbidding depths now sparkled with brilliance, a landscape transformed by the weight of our choices, our connections, and our desires for redemption. Suddenly, the giant squid, our unexpected ally, swirled around us, its majestic form gleaming in the resurrected sunlit depths. It pulsed rhythmically, filled with the life we had once feared but now embraced. As we emerged, I felt the burden of the triangle's past lift. The lessons of the sea, and those we had lost, welcomed us into the embrace of acceptance and renewal. We had unraveled the mysteries, faced our own truths, and emerged stronger than we ever thought possible. With newfound clarity, I vowed to carry those lessons into the world beyond. Now, our story had only just begun, a profound tapestry woven from darkness into shimmering light, and as I looked into the open waters before us, I whispered the final promise. We will tread these waves together, where shadows fall and light prevails, knowing every choice carries the power of redemption, every soul a story yet to be told.